Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:07 on O'Connor and Company. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's accurate to refer to Kilmar Abrego Garcia as a Maryland resident, I suppose. Although, technically, he's currently a Salvadoran resident, right? But yeah, sure. I mean, in terms of illegally entering the country in 2011, getting a deportation order in 2019 because he was in the country illegally, finally deported to El Salvador, his native country. Technically, he's a Salvadoran resident. Or, excuse me, he's a Maryland resident. You could also refer to him as a Salvadoran national, too, by the way. You could be 100% accurate and fact-based by calling him a Salvadoran national. You could also call him a Salvadoran national and illegal immigrant to the United States who resided in Maryland. That would be a way to refer to him as well. You could call him a Maryland occupant, actually, because needs to be a distinction there. But sure, absolutely. It is 100% factually accurate to refer to him as a Maryland resident. See, how you refer to him, though, really depends on your perspective, I would say, right? If you want to refer to him as a Maryland man or a Maryland resident, you're doing it because you have a certain perspective, and you want to communicate that perspective. That's why Democrats, Chris Van Hollen, the left, who are advocating for this man, merely refer to him as a Maryland man or a Maryland resident. Whereas other people with a different perspective and a different outlook may refer to him as an illegal immigrant from El Salvador who resided in Maryland and was a suspected gang member. All of these things are factually accurate. See, that's the way the media gets away with stuff like that. Hey, I didn't say anything that was factually inaccurate. No, you didn't. But you say things in a certain way that communicate something. That, words are important. We all use our words, right? I am an opinion-based journalist, and when I deliver my opinion, I use words that express what my opinion is. The funny thing is when the Jake Tappers of the world, the straight newsmen, they claim they don't have a bias, they don't claim they have any sort of perspective. They're just delivering facts. But the words they use to deliver those facts do tell you something. I raise this issue because you'll see news reports now about a California resident. A California resident by the name of Oscar Eduardo Ortega Anguiano. He is an illegal alien who had been twice deported back to his native country of Mexico. He had a lengthy rap sheet. He had multiple run-ins with the law in California. He is a Mexican native, entered the country illegally multiple times and broke the law multiple times. But you'll hear news reports refer to him as a California resident. And it's true. He is, in fact, a California resident. He currently resides in a prison because in the spring of 2022, rather than be deported back again to his country of Mexico, he was convicted in Orange County, California, of 2 counts of gross vehicular manslaughter because he was driving while intoxicated and going 100 miles an hour in Seal Beach, California. And 2 19-year-olds who were dating in love. Maybe they'll get married. Maybe they'd raise children. They were killed. A judge sentenced him to serve 10 years in prison for each count. That would be 20 years total. But instead, the judge said you can serve him concurrently. So that's the cost of a life in California, I guess, 10 years. But even better in the state of California, 10 years goes by just like that when the California Department of Corrections announces the early release, as they did this last weekend, just a little more than 3 years into his sentence. California Department of Corrections told Bill Malugin of Fox News that they couldn't confirm the release date and said they can't provide information of an incarcerated person's release date or location in advance of their release because incarcerated persons may earn credits for participating in rehabilitative programming, which may move parole-eligible dates to an earlier date. Democrats, what are you going to do? Here's a little bit of Bill Malugin's report on a California man. He's just a Californian. Cut 10 here is Bill Malusian's report.
These two California teenagers. He's got several felony convictions on his record, several convictions for driving without a license, but he was still out and about on California's roads. And this young American couple ended up paying the price for that. And now their killer is getting an early release. It was November 2021, a fiery collision on an Orange County freeway. A young couple dead, and the driver who crashed into them, a twice-deported illegal alien from Mexico with multiple felonies, in custody for being drunk, high, and speeding at nearly 100 miles per hour.
I get a knock on the door, and there's two police officers.
The pain written all over the face of Pavel Osokin, as he recalls being told his son Nikolai and his 19-year-old girlfriend Anya Varfolomeev, friends since they were kids, were gone.
They told me there was a horrible incident. My son and his girlfriend Anya basically were burned alive in their car.
She was my daughter.
Anya's father, Anatoly, got a similar knock on the door that night.
He said Anya's name. I said, yes, it's my daughter. My wife came downstairs and she was screaming and crying. She said, no, 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 no.
In spring of 2022, a jury convicted Oscar Eduardo Ortega Anguiano on 2 counts of gross vehicular manslaughter while intoxicated. A judge sentenced him to 10 years. But on Easter Sunday, the family say they received this notice from the California Department of Corrections that on July 19th, he'll be getting out.
You know, we're told by virtue signaling liberals that we are a nation of immigrants. And that's why our news media then takes the cue and starts referring to these people as California man. That murderer. Oh, I know he just got manslaughter, but he is a murderer. May not be the legal definition, but it's certainly the human definition of what this man did. He murdered those 2 teenagers, driving drunk at 100 miles an hour on a California freeway. Seal Beach. We're told that we're a nation of immigrants, and that's why, because of that virtue signaling, our news readers then refer to this guy, or Kilmore Abrego Garcia, as a Maryland man and a California man, instead of just as accurately calling them a criminal illegal alien. Because we're a nation of immigrants and we want to be nice. Well, guess what? Guess what? Anya's father is also an immigrant from Greece. He came here wanting a better life. He came here wanting to raise his children with the American dream. Nikolai's father also is an immigrant. He came here wanting the American dream. His children are dead. Their children are dead. Their children were murdered by a California man. Oh, I feel so much better. By a California resident. Oh, that makes me feel good about myself, to use that term. Just like Maryland resident. See, I know you think sometimes that these are just, little squabbles that we have here in talk radio with the mainstream corporate legacy media, but it actually matters. The words we use matter. Because, we're a nation of immigrants, and I care about all of the immigrants in this country, especially the ones who came to this country legally, like Nikolai and Anya's parents, who now have to grieve their children's death, and their murderer, who served 3.5 years because he wasn't deported a 3rd time under Joe Biden. He gets out of prison because of compassion. We all have compassion. I just wonder who you show your compassion for. That tells me a lot about who you are.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
I just want to button up this story real fast. If we can get to cut 11, this is the parents reacting to finding out that their children's murderer served just a little over 3 years. And now Gavin Newsom's Democrat Party in California, which dominates there, they are signaling all of their virtue to the world about where their compassion lies. Their compassion lies with the murderer, who isn't even a citizen of this country, who shouldn't have been here that day. He wants to drive 100 miles an hour under the influence. Do it down in Mexico and see how things work out with the federales. But instead, he did it in California on the 405 in Orange County, California, and he instead dealt with Gavin Newsom's judicial system and Joe Biden's ICE. And he's still in the country, and he just serves 3.5 years because he's a California resident, after all. Let's listen to these parents, cut 11.
2 years for killing 2 kids. It's confusing to me. Why you give them 10 if they're going to spend 5 and then 3?
Yeah, 2 young, productive American citizens killed for nothing. And that illegal immigrant who already has been deported twice is going to be released again?
In a statement, the Department of Corrections wouldn't confirm the release, but said in part, quote, incarcerated persons may earn credits for participating in rehabilitative programming, which may move their parole dates to an earlier date.
Which I already read you earlier. There you go. Great.
Are now sending letters.
Great. That's good, Jeff. Thank you. Great reporting, as always, by Bill Malugin and Fox News Channel. Yeah, 2 productive American citizens killed at 19 years old. And but that dad, I'm so sorry. I understand he's grief-stricken, but excuse me, he referred to his child's murderer as an illegal immigrant. Buddy, get the memo. He was a California resident. I would hate for you to get canceled over using the wrong language. Don't you watch the news? You can't use words like that, even though it is accurate. And that's all we care about. It was inaccurate. What was inaccurate about what I said? California resident, right? It's so insidious. And you may be thinking, oh, Larry, you're painting with a broad brush. Not all Democrats are like that. Well, yeah, I understand. Your aunt and uncle who vote Democrat because they loved JFK, or maybe, your sister-in-law who always swoons because Bill Clinton is so dreamy, so she votes Democrat. Or maybe you've got that other sister-in-law who really just cares about abortion. I get it. Maybe they're not like that. But every single elected official, every single leader for the Democrat Party and their mouthpieces in the media, they are like that. Here's Ralph Warnock. He's a man of the cloth. He's a reverend, don't you know? He's also a U.S. Senator from Georgia, and he was on The View. Here's cut 12. Take a listen to Warnock and how he talks about immigration.
You are a pastor, of course, and you call yourself a Matthew 25 Christian. And for those that don't know that verse says, I was a stranger and you welcomed me in. But you have warned that right now in this country, people are trying to weaponize despair. And we are seeing migrants being sent to a notorious foreign prison without any semblance of due process. We have Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a Maryland man sent to that very same prison based on an administrative error, and now the government here says we can't get him back. What do you make of this country welcoming in strangers?
Well, I have to tell you, as I am a Matthew 25 Christian, and Jesus said the way you treat the folks who are on the margins, that is the acid test of your spirituality. That's what that text is all about. And as I witness and watch what's happening, and in a lot of it, it seems that cruelty is the point.
Yeah.
And so when I watch this and hear it coming from folks who have a lot to say about their Christian identity, I have to say as a pastor, Whoopi, that I think Jesus is the biggest victim of identity theft in the country. Yeah. Because I don't know who this Jesus is they're talking about.
Yeah.
The Jesus I know was born in a barrio called Bethlehem.
Yeah.
Raised in a ghetto called Nazareth. Yep. He was an immigrant, smuggled into Egypt.
Sorry.
I'm not a man of the cloth, as you know. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a reverend. I am merely a wretched, sinful, imperfect follower of Jesus Christ who died on a cross to save my soul. So far be it for me to criticize Reverend Senator Ralph Warnock. But let me just say this to you. whenever you're confronted by somebody who calls themselves a Matthew 25 Christian or a John 3:16 Christian, or whenever they pull one verse out of the entirety of Holy Scripture and make that the definition of what kind of Christian they are, be very wary. There's a lot of words in that book. And if you defined your Christianity based on one verse, you're not doing it right. It's 6:23. Coming up, a stabbing at a Fairfax County high school. A video shows a teacher seemingly walking past the fight and not doing a thing about it. We'll give you all the details that we know of next.
WMAL-FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:37. It's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for tuning in here to our morning extravaganza. Coming up at 7:35, Nick Minnock of Channel 7, ABC7. 8:05 is KT McFarland. And then at 8:35, Adam Gillette, Accuracy in Media. Talk about the latest anti-Semitic nightmare chaos at the campus of Yale. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Mercedes Schlapp. Good morning, Mercedes. Now, as I mentioned, coming up at 7:35, we're going to speak with Nick Minnock of Channel 7. His colleague, Carl Willis, over at Channel 7, has a report of an incident that happened at West Potomac High School yesterday, it appears. Take a listen to his report.
Why can't I check out my daughter from school right now? That's all I care about.
Well, how am I certified that my son is safe in school? I'm sorry, but I'm just frustrated. This is crazy.
Exasperation from Fairfax County parents. It comes after a student was stabbed during a fight inside West Potomac High School today. Another teen is in custody. 7 News spoke one-on-one with the superintendent, who tells us mobile weapons detectors will be placed at West Potomac tomorrow. And new tonight, our Carl Willis has the superintendent's reaction to allegations an adult inside that school walked away from the fight.
Parents rushed to West Potomac High School Wednesday morning, responding to messages from their children about a fight and a stabbing in the school's hallway. We've blocked out most of the bloody scene in this picture.
It's kind of horrifying.
While these adults were clamoring for answers outside of the school.
There's multiple victims in this, and my daughter is one because she witnessed this.
A little bit more on this report in a second, but this comes, by the way, as you know, right when Fairfax County is asking for a drastic tax increase of Fairfax County residents. A huge portion of that tax increase, as we discussed with Supervisor Pat Harity yesterday, is to pay for the budget crisis in the high schools. This budget crisis brought on by the Fairfax County Board of Education, focusing on things like, gender policies and bathroom policies, defying the Department of Education, suing the Trump administration over those policies. That costs money. Which is, going to have to divert funding from things like, teaching kids how to read and write, and also keeping the kids safe in school. We can't have that. And also, there's another element of this, because like most school fights these days, it was either live streamed or video immediately got uploaded from the students, who all have television studios on a supercomputer in their pocket called a smartphone. And on the video, you can see an adult, we assume a teacher, walk by the fight, snap a picture, and then keep on walking. Cut 14, Carl Willis.
The apparent presence of another adult who witnessed the fight seen in this picture is being questioned.
There was a teacher there when they was fighting. He just walked off. That's what us kids are saying. Why would a teacher just stare and then walk off?
It's not clear if he did eventually go to get help.
There was a kid on the floor getting beaten, so I know he didn't know the severity, but that's impossible to imagine that's okay.
7 News also had questions about campus security here at West Potomac and how teachers are expected to get involved. We asked the school superintendent.
It is never acceptable to walk by behavior that is dangerous. What I will say is this whole situation is currently under investigation. We'll be reviewing all the video, both the school video and law enforcement investigative details, and we'll take any appropriate actions as necessary.
What do you expect from an adult or a teacher in that situation?
100%. He should have said something, done something, called someone. he should have made noise. If he doesn't want to jump in a fight, I get it. But he should have been making some noise.
3 school board members have also called for increased presence of resource officers at every middle school and high school in the county.
Well, Mercedes, this is the state of our public schools right now. This is Fairfax County, which they used to boast that this was the greatest school system in America, and then the Democrats took over.
Diana, who's with us, with our family. Her daughter goes to West Potomac, so I got the notification immediately that this had happened. Of course, we were completely panicked. Her daughter's name is Lady. We were like, what do we need to do? I got to tell you something. We saw this in Texas with Austin McCalf and that man who the other teenager who stabbed Austin in the heart, killed him. So think about the violence that's happening in our public school systems, whether it's the shootings and now the stabbings. This is in our backyard, Larry. It's in our backyard, for crying out loud. And the mere fact is that if you do have a teacher that doesn't even really do anything or just walks away because, it's a scuffle in the school, then you end up with these dangerous situations where this kid could have been killed, or how many more kids could have been killed. And there's this one, I think, post it's called Fairfax Warrior Mom, video footage of the Fairfax County West Potomac High School stabbing. Where is the staff? Why is a child calling for the ambulance instead of hiring security, install metal detectors? Here's the deal. We've talked about this time and time again. They should have school security in all of these public schools. There should be metal detectors if there needs to be. I mean, if we know the children are not safe, a parent always wants to know that you send your kid to school and your kid is going to come out and be alive and safe and not turn from a boy to a girl or a girl to a boy. This is what's happening right now, right? You have this sense that your kid can't be safe if they go to one of these big public high schools. That is a problem. And you're right. The priorities of the school board has been their obsession with the LGBTQ community, with the whole curriculum. If we're teaching them sex, gay, anything that's dealing with the gay agenda, that's what they're focused on, what their money has been spent on instead of security.
That's right. It should be reminded to everybody. Everyone should remember that the president of the Fairfax County School Board chose to be sworn into office on a stack of gay porn that he wants to make sure is available in the school libraries. That's the priority, not the safety of your children. And this teacher, it should be pointed out, it's a burly man who walked by. I don't know how a man does that when he sees 2 young men fighting and you're an authority figure. Either he doesn't care, or he knows that he will be left hanging out to dry by the administration, if he has to manhandle a student and sort of wrestle him away from the fight, then he'll be in trouble. You don't lay a hand on a child. I mean, unless it's.
But this is what drives me crazy too. Like the other.
Hold that thought. We'll get to it. We'll get to it in a second. Sorry, we're up against it. It's 6:44.
Later this morning on the Chris Plant Show, the American Lung Association gives D.C. an F for air quality. Is it just the smelly liberals? 9 a.m. on WMAL.
We will not stop. We will not rest this close. We will not stop. We will not rest this close.
This is the sound of anti-Semitic, pro-terrorist demonstrators on the campus of Yale. So if you heard them talking like this, because they're Ivy League anti-Semites, you probably understood correctly. That's right. Another pro-Hamas encampment popped up yesterday at Yale. They encircled a huge section of a quadrangle. They linked arms, and if any Jewish student wanted to walk across the quadrangle and campus that they're paying, $80,000-$90,000 a year to attend, they were kept out because they were wearing a yarmulke, or maybe they in some way expressed support for the state of Israel. It's clear anti-Semitism. This, by the way, at the time the Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir was speaking on the campus, because it's an Ivy League, and he was giving a speech to a private Jewish community there at the Yale campus. And, you can't be Jewish and have any peace if you attend Yale University. Here they go again, Mercedes, and this at a time when the Trump administration is trying to tell these schools, we will not give you $1 of federal tax dollars if you continue this racist, bigoted, and allowing this racist, bigoted behavior. And Harvard's decision, of course, was to sue the Trump administration. And Yale, well, let's see what Yale does.
Oh, I'm sure Yale will follow suit. You're seeing the fact that, these students, not only are they harassing and bullying these Jewish students, you're talking about the student protesters, the pro-Hamas terrorist student protesters, the Jew hate of in terms of these protesters, creating these Zionist exclusion zones where the Jewish students cannot go to is. Talk about discriminatory. I mean, these Jewish students should sue Yale and sue Harvard, turn it on these universities that they are abandoning these children and these students. And so I think that Yale, I have a feeling, will go along the lines of Harvard. Columbia University, they've been willing to try to figure out a way to work with the administration. But let's be real. You look at Harvard, and Harvard has a $52 million. $billion endowment, Larry. They themselves would survive, quote unquote, without federal funds.
Yeah, I think they'd be just fine. And meanwhile, the Democrats who aren't going to San Salvador to visit a gang member of MS-13, they're going to Louisiana to visit a Palestinian national or pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas individuals who are being deported because they violated their student visa. This is disgusting. It's despicable behavior. But, what are you going to do? It's Democrats. 6:52.